Hey everybody, Texas Trucker here, Lance's Performance Shop, LoneStarMopars.com. It's Monday night, trying to get things kind of caught up and wrapped up. We're still in the midst of these KC tool hauls that date back to all over last year. We're talking like spring, summer, fall, winter. It's kind of all mixed up. And I know in the past people have always said like, man, you know, just don't mix, don't do standalone brands, just do a hodgepodge of stuff. Well, it's one of those deals where these items actually were, you know, part of a hodgepodge. You just kind of added in here and there, but it kind of made sense to just put them all together here for reasons that I think you'll agree with. So before we get going, I always use timestamps. You can click and expand the description box down below. We have links to everything that we're going to talk about. Actually, we won't in this one, more on that later, but typically have links to everything we showcase. There's timestamps, so if there's demos or comparisons or anything like that, it's all there for your convenience. Whether you want to like skim around initially, or you just come back to the video a couple times and kind of see like, hey, I'm putting that on my wish list, want to grab it. You can quickly reference the item, find it, see it, decide if you want to buy it or put it on a wish list. It's there for you to click. So also, while we're on that front, discount code Lone Star gets you 20% off Alpha gloves. I make nothing off of that. I'm just trying to get you connected with some good gloves that don't suck. And as you should know with KC Tool, if you hit the $75 threshold, you get free shipping. If you hit the $100 threshold, you get the German Tool sticker pack. And if you hit nothing, I mean, if you just place an order, you get a Bit of Things. Bit of Things for a long time were the Philo stamped number 2s, had KC Tool on them. They've switched over to Vit Bits now, which is kind of a cool deal if you're into that stuff. If you catalog them, archive them, you might not even notice if you just toss them in a pile till you need them, or you just grab them and use them and don't kind of inspect them. They have changed, so be on the lookout for that. But this is a pretty simple tool haul. I think it's going to be enjoyable though, and it's 100% Gedore. At least what we brought in. Not everything we're going to showcase is, but at least what we brought in. So, from a previous haul, maybe 67, 8, 9, somewhere in there, maybe 68, we brought in this little guy. This is a deal. Again, I'm on the site frequently. I'm shopping around looking for deals, looking for savings, and this was something that was just getting closed out, clearance to the snot out of it. And as best as I know, Gedore just is not going to make these anymore. If you take the links, or if you were able to find them on the site, they're gone, right? Sometimes stuff is back ordered and you can still go to it. Sometimes currently, even with the Wiha stuff, they no longer carry. It's still like got a placeholder, so you could revisit it, see reviews, see what it cost, everything like that. With these, they're like just straight up gone. You can enter the verbatim part number, and it's just nothing comes up. So all I would assume is they decided that, you know, like, hey, we're doing metric, we don't sell enough of these. It's kind of like a lost cause, you know. So a lot of you seemed interested in this. That's the video that I released this Saturday, and people seem to be pretty pleased with these. And unfortunately, it's something that, you know, you're not going to be able to find new unless there's like new old stock, or maybe if there was like a stocking distributor, or maybe if you like beg and plead with Gedore, like, hey, do you have any of these in the dark warehouse? But what this was 5/16 by 3/8, and it's a line wrench. And this was my guinea pig one. This is the one where I was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to invest in those. You know, number one, there wasn't like a complete cohesive set. Even like piecing in the remnants of what was left, the standalone items, you couldn't like get a set. That's kind of something I would like to do and prefer to do with line wrenches, especially if it's like an investment quality one, not like the Great Neck AutoZone specials that like typically, you know, you're lucky if they work, you know, on new clean fittings, you know, and then God forbid you try to actually use them, and you know, it's like, wow, you know, I didn't need a specialty tool to ruin the fitting. But this is just a deal where that was the guinea pig, and I actually like, just like it came across to you, people seemed interested in it, like in hand it's even better. So this was something that I just slowly kind of put together. I started with the sizes that I thought I would use and just sort of built it up from there. But I'll just throw them down. That's the big one. That's kind of something I was thinking might be used more at work if I ever had to do stuff. Forklift is what I'm thinking of there. But this is what I've got. So 2 of these don't even have the part numbers. I don't know if I should reference them or not. It would just take up time, and it like results in dead ends. There's nothing for me to link for you. But in the case of this one, we'll just go ahead and do it. It is going to be GR6058320. GR6058320. This one is going to be 9/16 by 5/8. I had one of you in the comments tell me that AF, I was thinking it was like American form factor. That's across the flats, which it's also a British thing, which when you factor that in, it makes even more sense. Like, I 7/16 across the flat. Type of a deal. So 9/16 by 5/8, and again right there you can see the standalone little barcode, part number, everything like that. This one, interestingly enough, you don't have like the simple hex side. It's like a 12 point, but again, being that I only had sparingly few line wrenches, and these are substantially, like, this is pretty beefy for a line wrench, I'm not gonna lie. I was happy to add them, and it was just something I just kind of threw that on an order, you know, to like get it, you know, like, oh, that'll be something I'll use. And then same thing, you know, I placed another order, and I was like, you know, that's still there, and it says it's the only one. Maybe I should just go for it. And so we've got a 5/8 by 3/4. I hate having to get 5/8 again, but it's a situation where I wanted 3/4. I thought that would kind of be fairly commonplace for me to utilize, and so that's what I had to go with. But there she blows. So 5/8, we're covered. You know, if I screw one side up, we're kind of covered on that front. And then the big one, it's going to be 7/8 by 1 inch. That's also going to be kind of more of the 12 point type. So they're super good. Now, the saving grace here, if you do a lot, and this is something a lot of people are never going to use. Some people are going to have to use them sparingly. Some people, this is like a daily thing for you. Kind of depends what you're doing, what you're servicing and working on. But 7/8 by 1 inch. And the catch point and selling point is, like, if this looks good to you and you're like, good Lord, that is like way better than what I have, or it looks beefy as all get out, you know, there's no flex, it's a good quality wrench. Well, they still have the metric stuff, and so Stahlwille, Gedore, I think Zed even has them. If metric is your jam, you can go to town. But if you're sitting here and you're like messing with old school stuff, well, may kind of be out of luck. So my big deal, I do wish that I could have gotten some of the smaller, like, you got to realize when I'm thinking of here, like this, I was thinking like, ooh, you know, the forklift's always leaking. And that's the proper tool, right? But for me, it kind of comes down to like brakes and stuff like that. So that's sort of where the small sizes would be my most reached for, most desired and sought after. But subsequently, like when these are that cheap, who am I to, like, you know, hey, you know, if I didn't get these to preserve them and have them, who would? You know, they just be scrapped? I don't know. I didn't want that to happen, so we kind of pulled this together. Let me see if I can even find prices. Again, you can't pull these up on the side. I could go back and you know, look at the order confirmations and stuff to get prices, but yeah, none of them even come up, which is, like I said, unfortunate. But your saving grace, if you want them, you can get the metric equivalents, which I'm sure some of you, again, line wrenches are a daily part of your life. You sort of know the sizes you deal with, so keep that in mind. But what I want to do now is find what I wanted to showcase, and I think it was just covered up by a bunch of plastic bags. It was. Nope, that's not the one. That's the one we are gonna bring out. Oh man, I'm telling you, here it is. Okay, we're golden. This right here is pretty cool. It's been a while since we showcased one. This is obviously slightly different variety. I think if you didn't know about it, you're gonna be interested. Obviously, it's from Gedore. It is going to be the 7 RA-63. You can also find it under their part number 2320495. It's going to set you back $19.41. And if you're thinking like, that's not too bad, well, it's a little bag and everything like that. It's repulsively high. What could possibly be in a bag that small that would cost that kind of money? Like, for a reference point, like this one was probably like 20 something, and then the rest of those were like super good buys. So clearance section can be your friend. Right there, again, you can confirm everything I just read off to you. And so what is it, you ask? What is in this bag that costs $20 that we would be interested in? That's something that you kind of showcased before, but in a different size. Well, let's throw that off to the side. It's this. I know what you're thinking. You're like, I can't see anything. Well, let me work my magic here behind the camera. And if you're thinking like, it's a Gedore magnet, wow, you are something special, sir. What a waste of our time. That's a lot of money for a refrigerator stick. Your grocery list might be slightly cooler than mine, but I just can't justify it. Well, think about it. Now watch this. That seems to go in and out, right? Well, what if I spin this around? What does that look like? Looks like a 1/4 inch drive, doesn't it? But there's this weird hex thing with some Wiha-esque magic ring. What is going on? And why is that knurled? And why does it spin so well between your fingers? What's the deal? Well, let's back this back out. I'm gonna reach over here and see if it rings a bell with you. This is the same thing, only slightly larger, and if that looks like 3/8 drive, that's because, well, it is 3/8 drive. What this does, if you didn't put 2 and 2 together, we'll come in and we'll take this Wera easy tool ID socket, and we're gonna line her up, and I'm going to step on the quick release. And look what I've done. I've created the world's smallest ratchet, right? My hands, my fingers. Super tight spaces. But you're like, what a bunch of dead space. Why do they even have that hex? You could just have the same thing and turn it by hand, but you're giving up, you know, a good 1/2 of an inch there. That's not German engineered. That's just pathetic. Well, check this out. Okay, we're going to come in. We're going to keep this simple. We're going to grab this Gedore. This is one of our test wrenches, if you wonder why there's still a sticker on it. But if I put it in this open end here, what have we done? Well, let me look and see. Boy, that's a tight fit. That's one thing about the Gedore wrenches. It is an absurdly tight fit. What we've done now is we've sort of created ourselves, and you're like, oh wait, hey, look at that. You know, the bottom of the socket there is right up against the wrench. That kills off that dead space. That dead space was to lock in a wrench. You'd be 100% correct, and we've now created something that gets leverage. So if we come in and it's tight spaces, you can't fit your big fancy, you know, 19-inch wide comfort grip, you know, between the header tubes and the fender well, you can probably fit a thin wrench like this, and this is going to be way better than trying to wedge in some strange angled pliers, right? So that's cool, but it could be better, right? I mean, it would be nice if you could like ratchet with it, wouldn't it be? Well, think about it. This is just a wrench. There's nothing special about this wrench aside from it being super compact and thin. So if we come in over here, grab this Gedore wrench here that looks eerily similar until you get to this end and there's a switch. Why? Because, well, it's a ratcheting wrench. Check this out. We drop this in, and I take this same socket, we line her up. And what have I done now? Well, I can still get in there. I've got my slim profile. We can snake around the header tube, not hit the fender well, not run into anything here. Now I can break it free. What's different? Well, that's what's different. We can now ratchet. And that's basically what this does. This converts a wrench into a socket holder, which is kind of a nice deal, or the more obvious intentional purpose is you can take a ratcheting wrench and you can turn it into a ratchet. This is situations you're not always going to run into something. I mean, you got to think like a standard ratchet head is not going to be much thicker than this, but there are times, especially if you had like a stubby ratcheting wrench, that this could be very, very useful for you. Again, it went over really well, the 3/8 one that we showcased there. And obviously the ideal setup is with a switched ratchet. I'm still kind of, you were with me when I got in my first ever ratcheting wrenches on this channel, and I'm still kind of wrench poor, I guess you would say. Got some pretty cool ones, we're slowly working on it. But in terms of ratcheting wrenches, this is about all I've got with a switch, okay? So I'm just straight up gonna tell you that right now. So you come in and it's like, well, dude, you've surely got some ratcheting wrenches, and we do. Metric wise, we would have the Wera Joker and we would have the Wiha, right? But again, no switch, so it limits it. But the difference here is the 3/8 drive is going to plug into a 13mm wrench, and then this for your 1/4 drive stuff is going to plug into, you guessed it, if you know Wera's Take It Easy tool finder system, it's a 10. So the way this would work with the traditional style, you'd have like an extra step or two where if you want to change directions and have the ratchet, well, you got to pop this out and switch it. But it's not a huge deal, and if you're already equipped with a good set of ratcheting wrenches with the selector switch, you've got a super compact tight 1/4 setup that could be On occasions, albeit rare occasions, but when they come up, it could be your saving grace, save you a ton of time and headache. So that's kind of what we have going here. Obviously, same drill with the Wiha. I'm going to tell you right now, and this is probably going to sound stupid, but I'm just being straight up honest with people. With the ratcheting wrenches, the vast majority of everything is going to come out of Taiwan, mainly due to patents. Also, they make pretty dadgum good ratcheting wrenches, and they're produced at a cost that just, you know, US, Japan, Germany, you know, wherever they may be, that's very difficult. There's not a lot of people that are going to shell out a, you know, $600 for ratcheting wrench set when you could go and get something that's a complete set from, you know, 6 to 24 millimeter or quarter to, you know, 7/8 or something for like $89, and it's actually pretty good. If you look around, if you talk to your tool dealers, your suppliers, you know, they're going to say like, hey, you know, I sell a ton of these and I don't have much come back, and if they do, they have a lifetime warranty. And it's kind of like, well, you can't argue with that. One of the legitimate regrets I have with tool purchases is right here. And if you're like, oh, you don't like that little 13 millimeter Gedore, huh? You know, that's your problem. You spent that money on that German ratcheting wrench, and you could have gotten a, you know, half of a set from, you know, Harbor Freight, you know, or Tecton or Capri or something. Yeah, I probably could have, but here's the deal, and this is where things get weird. This setup right here, this 13, it's the only one I brought in. Again, I was kind of doing testing and comparison in mind at that point, which you'll see at some point in the future. I love this thing. I absolutely love it. It's in comparison to everything like the Wera ones, right, which I believe are Czech, and then the Wiha, which is definitely Taiwan. It's a situation where this has like pathetically low tooth count. It's anemic. Like I've got the SKX frames that are absurd, all right? You can get gear wrench with all kinds of teeth in there and super buttery smooth and virtually no return angle. I love this thing, and it's like, it's archaic. It's like something that would have been around in the 60s or 70s, and I don't know if it's because I'm into old stuff or what, but despite knowing that, I still like this. It feels strong, it feels robust, and where my regret comes is I wish, and at the time, like if it would have been on sale, I probably would have done it, but Gedore, the way they do this, it's kind of like Stahlwille and Wera, you know, the German efficiency pack, 10, 13, 17, 19. They have a 4-piece set. I've seen it on Tool of the Day once before I got it, and then, I don't know, sometime in the past year or two, and I couldn't really justify it at the time, you know, and I'd already had this one, and it's like I've got a dupe on the 13, but I love that, and if it's ever Tool of the Day again, I think I'm going to pull the trigger, and my justification is going to be for the selector switch. Plus, now that I've got this for the 13, that for the 10 quarter drive, and then I want to say the 1/2 inch, I don't know if it's 17 or 19, but if you're curious, yes, that is a wish list item, and yes, we will bring it in. Why 3/8? That's what I use the most. Why quarter? That's actually probably the most useful situation. If you're using anything that necessitates 1/2 inch drive ratchet, you probably have some space, all right? So it's probably not as practical of a purchase, but it's still super cool, and it could, like I said, in rare occasions, be incredibly handy. So I sadly do not have a selector switch, so we can reverse directions with this, but that's what it does. Also, the other thing you should be aware of, as I showcased earlier, if you don't have ratcheting wrenches, or you think, man, you know, if I just had that to break something free, where would that be in application? Let's just pitch it this way. I've got a 10 millimeter Stahlwille here. I'm going to plug this in. Let's say that I've got, you know, I've got the space here, but like the wrench, either A, I'm up against, let's just stick with the headers. We got a collector tube here. And if I've got the wrench, I can't go there. I need some ridiculous offset to get in there, or I've got to go under the car or in the wheel well and pinch around and try to get to something. If I run this setup with a deep socket, I get the socket to go under the tube and onto the fastener. And that's going to create the situation where this could actually be functional. The other thing, and this is kind of basic, you wouldn't even think of it, it's so simplistic. If we're sitting there and we've got a situation where we've got something stuck and we're trying to break it free with the wrench that fits, picture yourself constantly like coming off the corner. You're starting to like round the bolt off. It's seized. You're thinking like, we're going to have to like do a ton of crud to get to this and heat it up. It's going to be a nightmare. If you're sitting there and like this is slipping and you keep slamming your knuckles into something, if you had a socket with bite, something with longer reach to get in there, that could potentially be the difference. And then especially like picture a wrench extender on this end or something. You can do some crazy stuff, and it's all going to be possible by converting, in this case for the quarter drive, a 10mm wrench into basically a makeshift ratchet, or in a fixed case with no ratcheting mechanism, a breaker bar. So I'm sure you can sit there, your mind, if you're interested in this, you're probably like rattling around like, I could have used that on that. And you're thinking of like some horror story, and this is looking like a godsend to you. That's where it's going to shine. And again, it's one of those deals. It's not something you could totally use it all the time. I mean, you can turn this into a 3H drive super compact ratchet if that's what you want to do. But in terms of like lifesaver, it's not going to be that often, but it could be. And you've probably, based on what you do and when you've done it and where you're doing it, you probably have a good feel for if that would benefit you or not. So that's kind of the way that would work. Again, just picture we'll come in here and we'll grab, I thought this just timed out on me. Would help if we had the correct end there, wouldn't it? So like, look how tight that is. And we've created, again, just this tiny little breaker bar. So super cool setup. The last item, and this is something that I'd wanted for a long time, and the price was always stupid high. I think it was on sale, because otherwise I would have brought this in long ago. It's, as you might have guessed, from Gedore. And if I can find it on the packing list somewhere, it would be, I've got the part number here in front of me, I'm just honestly looking for the price. It's going to be on that other one, isn't it? Nope. Yep. It's got to be over here. There it is. Okay, $15.28 for Gedore 2098, or if you want the long one, 617-1480. And you're thinking like, what could that be? He thinks it's a little high. It was $15.28, which I think that's come down. I don't know, maybe they like realized, hey, we'd sell more of these if we dropped the price. Maybe it was a KC tool thing, who knows. But if I could get a thumbnail here, we would be in this thing. I don't want to cut the bag because I reuse these for like bolts and stuff when I tear stuff down. All right, got it. I think this is something people will enjoy as well. So what it is, you're like, oh my lord, a screwdriver. No, we can't go one video without a screwdriver, can we? Kind of, because this is not a screwdriver. This is a, what? Spinner handle. That's right. You should know I've got a thing for spinner handles, T-handles, and stuff like this. You can totally get, for all the screwdriver people, don't worry, you can get quarter drive bits with screwdrivers, or you can go an even more simplistic route and just get a bit holder adapter and spin away to your heart's content. But what this is going to be good for is coming in and using something like we have here from Koken. These are the nut grips, right? And if you don't want to come in and buy yourself a set of, man, that's a really good fit. If you don't want to buy yourself a dedicated set of nut drivers, if you think, man, I don't need the hollow shaft, I would be fine with this, just spinning things down, viable solution. The other thing, this is a pretty short, I'm not saying it's going to be the most comfortable thing in the world, but it's a pretty short barrel there. That's significantly shorter than you usually see with these. And I thought that might come in handy again, just sticking with our theme here with the ratchet adapter, just tight quarters. So I mean, to give you an idea, like this is palm size. This could fit in your pocket super easy. And again, if you run around and let's say maybe in your Knipex keeper from the previous video, if you've got, say, the Koken nut grips in there, or you've just got standard quarter drive sockets, boom, stick them on here, you've got your nut driver. You can run things down, and then you're like, man, I don't have a ratchet. What do? You come in, you grab your ratcheting 10mm, you grab this little guy right here, you put your socket on it, and you tighten her down. It's that simple. So to give you an idea, like that's the 10mm down here, tucks in just about an identical length as the Wiha and the Wera. So super cool deal. Also, if you have never used, the Gedore's handles are very unique. It's probably going to be a love it or a hate it. You might like the color scheme, but you might get it and you might be like, what were they thinking here? And some people absolutely love this style, some people do not. It's very uniquely shaped. It's almost like a Coke bottle, but then you've got your finger slots, and it's just a deal where it surprisingly spins, especially in the small profile. But if you're a fan of Wera, Wiha, you like Fila, whatever it might be, Vid even, this is like radically different. And like I said, some love it, some don't. This might be your gateway. Instead of coming in and getting like the ubiquitous #2 Phillips, or if you're like, I'm going to get a striking cap and beat the snot out of it, you know, with a flat blade and just abuse it, see how it holds up. This is a viable purchase for you because you would have a spinner handle. It gives you a feel, albeit they do scale. So like if we had a giant like 8-inch, you know, shaft #2 posi here, it's going to be a much bigger handle, right? But this would give you an idea of what to expect with their handles. This is a little on the small side to give you like an accurate representation of the full line. But if you can project that in your own mind and imagination, this is a pretty decent little add-on. So at some point in time, we're probably going to need to compare all these because we've got quite a few. Spoiler alert, one of my favorites is going to be the Stahlwille. The selling point on that one versus this is going to simply be it's got the locking feature. So picture that, you lock your socket on and then you lock your fastener, your nut in place with the Koken nut grip. Pretty sweet setup. But yeah, that is it. That is what we brought in. So kind of went down memory lane there, mainly for demonstration purposes. But it's a pretty cool little deal, I've got to admit. It's a situation, again, I don't think you're going to use it all the time. But when you need it, it will be a lifesaver. It's also just kind of cool to use, I'm not going to lie. Have I ever used it? Yes. Did I have to use it? No, but it was very slim and compact, and that was something that I needed to achieve, so I just went right for it. So, once again, I don't know, maybe the thing is, these are so expensive individually. Anytime you get into a ratcheting wrench, German-based, I don't care if it's made in Taiwan, they hit you individually high. The sets are somewhat reasonable and a much better route to go. But I've got the 13, and then of course I'd have the duplicate. I could buy a 1017-19, but then I've like added it up in the past. You almost spend what the set costs, and the set in this case comes with a pretty cool, I want to say it's Velcro, but it's sort of like a color scheme like this hand. It looks really good. If you're into Gedore, like the blue and black or light gray color scheme, it's kind of a neat deal. But that is something I legitimately regret. It's just kind of, you bring it in, if you try it and you like it, cool, but then, you know, with a screwdriver, you know, you're out like $4 to $12 roughly. With this, you're out like, you know, $30 or something. It's like, yeah, it's a tougher pill to swallow, but super cool little setup. We're going to definitely need to get a 10, and I kind of want to go this route. The other selling point, I'm pretty sure I hit on it, but the Gedore wrenches are actually made in Germany. So if country of origin is something you care about, or if you're like, I only want German or US or Japanese, you know, keep that in mind. That said, it's a much lower tooth count. If you're accustomed to like anything recent and modern, I mean, even the cheapest stuff has like higher tooth counts, I'm not gonna lie. And again, it's sort of like air tools to me. I typically don't see much difference between them. You know, sometimes they do something slightly different aesthetically, or you might prefer the feel of the wrench of one versus the other. But in terms of like the internals and the performance, kind of a wash. So but this though right there, I promise, I'm not saying that I make nothing if Gedore moves more of these wrenches, but as archaic as this one is versus the modern stuff, the selector switch is solid, and I've used this quite a bit, and I love it. I mean, you can tell, listen to it like that ain't hyper fine by any stretch of the imagination there. It's just something about it, I just like it. I can't explain it, but I just like it. So at some point in time, we will have a 10. If I do, we'll wind up showcasing that. If you, my enablers, would like to see me pick up the 1/2-inch drive version of this product, leave a comment. Let me know. Encourage me to make yet another purchase that's not quite necessary, but could someday be very beneficial. 1/2-inch, again, kind of being the least likely, but hey, still cool. So we'll see what happens. If you've used them, let me know your thoughts. If you have the Gedore spinner handle, how are you liking it? How does it compare to your other brands that you may own? Do you find that you prefer it, or you prefer other brands, or you hate it? Whatever the case may be, leave a comment down below. But yeah, I believe that is it. I hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned a little something. Maybe you got some items you're interested in. Maybe it kind of exposed you more to this line wrench. Again, I so wish I could have gotten some smaller sizes. That would have been awesome. Maybe we'll go with a different brand for that. Had to pause that. We were about to get timed out there. But yeah, that is it. The website is LoneStarMopars.com. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All three at Lone Star Mopars. If you have not subscribed, I encourage you to do so. If you subscribe, you ring the bell, you jump your charger across the creek, you grab a 10mm Gedore ratcheting wrench, combine it with a ratchet adapter, throw on a Koken nut grip. YouTube just might notify you that we upload every Saturday, 9 a.m. Texas time. Usually have content on Wednesdays as well. But with that said, I hope you enjoyed. Most importantly, I hope you have yourself a fantastic weekend. I'm going to get all this stuff sorted out, put away in the box, and I tell you what, outside of one more, I'm caught up currently. I've got a lot of stuff that's been on back order, and that stuff will trickle in at some point here in the coming weeks and months. But we're almost totally caught up, and it is a good feeling getting floor space back, getting everything put away, ready to use, not having to wipe it down and worry about presentation and all that stuff. So with that said, have a fantastic weekend. I will catch you back here for more action from the shop.